You're listening to Crystal and Emily on Love Your Shelf, the best librarian podcast in the extensive and highly competitive field of librarian podcasts.
Oh, hello there.
Why, hello.
You come here often?
Every week, just about.
Me too.
What a coincidence.
Monday through Friday, you know.
So I have a few things today. I'm afraid that I'm going to try to give myself a time limit because otherwise I would chat your ear off about this book that I just finished.
You been busy this week? Or last week?
Yeah. In fact,
nice.
This book, I mentioned last time that I was about to start it or that I had started it.
Uh-huh.
And I was so excited about it. And it was so much better than what I was expecting. So,
yay!
Yes.
Oh, isn't that the best?
It is. And it's I think I used to have that experience a lot more than I do now. I don't know, maybe I'm jaded or...
Yeah.
But it was definitely like a throwback to a style and an approach and like references and stuff that I used to be really into. So it was a nice little change of pace.
Yes, that's so fun to be, I don't know, have those old feelings and in a good way.
Yeah. And so, and kind of with that, and then the other things that I, kind of consumed the past week, it was kind of like, I'm trying to balance like the darkness and the light stuff,
Right.
Because I've got, I don't always do that, or I'm not always successful. But I am trying.
And sometimes you don't realize that until it's too late. And you're like, man, okay, I've just been reading and watching all darkness. And here I am stuck in the darkness.
Yes. So I really enjoyed the book. And it was pretty twisty and dark. And then started another one that was real dark. So I put that aside.
Yeah.
And turned on some stand-up comedy. So we'll talk about all of those things.
Good. Yay. Good. Because I didn't do much this week in the way of entertainment, and which is super disappointing. I've been busy I feel like the first time since March. So I'm a little out of practice.
Yeah, it is. It's strange how like the pace of your life changes. And sometimes it can be, I'm sure everybody's going through this or has gone through this recently, but yeah, it's disconcerting and unsettling.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, tell me what to watch and read.
Okay. So Maxwell's Demon by Stephen Hall is the one that I mentioned last time.
Mm-hmm.
That and he's also wrote Raw Shark Text. And it was, I thought he was just like a one-hit wonder. He went off the radar, hasn't written anything in a long time. And then I saw that this is coming out, and it's actually coming out in April. So I'm going to get everybody really hyped for something that you have to wait for a few months for.
Right. You'll enjoy it even more.
Yes.
I hope.
Yes. So that's the one that I said, as I was describing the beginning, where the man, the writer, hears his father's voice, who's been dead for 7 years, and that's like the setup.
Yes.
And there is no way that I could possibly describe to you anything about the story. I was trying to say, like, well, okay.
Let's get specific, but just everything.
Yeah, even like the setting, I'm going to make it sound complicated, and I don't want people to be like put off by that, because it's also an enjoyable read.
Like, right.
It's fun, and at first it's a little slow to start, which I've noticed that has been kind of an issue in some of the books that I've read lately, like The Only Good Indian by Stephen Graham Jones. I was like, okay, thought this was going to be horror or thrilling, but that slow build is really, really effective. And the writer is the main character, and he often like breaks into speaking to you. But
Oh, that's funny. Breaks
yeah,
that fourth wall a little bit.
yeah, but just not so much that it's obnoxious. Sometimes that can be
Yeah.
distracting.
Yeah.
But just enough where you go, wait, did he just ask me something?
Yeah. A little
Um,
I feel like Phoebe Waller-Bridge perfected that on
yes.
Fleabag
Oh
on
yeah, she
as far
definitely
as the
she owns
screen.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, as far as the screen goes. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but there's just lots of moments where you you go, wait, what's happening? What's real? What's and then he also talks about how writers or how authors interact with their audiences. And we were
Mhm.
talking about last time was about entropy is what he was
Mhm.
describing.
Mhm.
But with writers and their audiences, it's a matter of time. So we read the book in whatever pace we're going at, so
Mhm.
usually consuming it pretty quickly, but it could have taken that writer a decade to craft that
Right.
sentence,
Oh man. Yeah.
and or what however much time it is. And at first I was like, oh, okay, so he's saying, yeah, it's been a while since I wrote anything, but I've
Yeah.
been working
Yeah.
on this for a long time. But actually it kind of turns in on itself, and the book is about writing and imagination and mystery, and
Mhm.
it's really like like I said, it's got all this discussion of entropy and science, and there's religion thrown in there, like
Uh-huh.
ancient, and how ancient peoples viewed a lot of these things that we see differently now,
Right.
and just so much going on. But it's at its heart, it's like a mystery novel, basically.
How crazy and fun.
Yes.
I'll
And there's
keep
a
it at that. But yeah.
yeah, and there's a book that's at the center of it, like a
Mhm.
fictional book, fiction, metafiction. And so and these fictional characters, and anyway, I don't want to give anything away, but I can't say enough about it, and I can't wait for other people to read it so that I can
Mhm.
talk to them
You can
about
talk
it.
to people about
Yes.
Well, I
And
really am. Yeah, I'm just so happy for you that I know you had high hopes for it. So that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, it's going to be one of those that I'm going to reread. And there are also parts I can't really explain where the text is done in a strange way
Mhm.
to resemble something else. And
Mhm.
so that was a little bit hard to read. So I kind of maybe skimmed that a little bit. And
Sure.
I think going back and
You
reading it
taking the
again.
time to,
Yeah.
yeah, unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
But
The first
I
time
think
I
that's
just,
great. Yeah.
yeah. The first time I just wanted to like find out what was going on.
Yes, yes. No, I definitely do that when I read sometimes. I'm not always great about going back, but hey, I think that's okay.
Yeah. Well, so I can't recommend that more highly. And it references The Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell, which I've mentioned before,
Mhm.
and Borges, which is a writer who I really love, and who's a master of like just mind bending
Mhm.
short stories and metafiction. So very cool.
Very cool.
But so then I picked up The Shining Girls by Lauren Bukes,
Mhm.
and I
Sequel to The Shining. I'm just kidding.
oh gosh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
The Shining
Like the
Girls.
little twins, yeah.
It's their story.
Or
I
I
want to
guess they're
read
not
that.
twins, the sisters or whatever they are. Yeah,
Well, yeah, they're wearing twin clothes.
yeah.
Anyway.
So this writer wrote another book I liked recently called Afterland that I talked about
Mhm.
here, and I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm, but it's about a man who is super creepy and gross, who is just terrible, who is stalking these young girls. Now, there's a
So creepy and gross.
sci-fi, yeah, there's a sci-fi element to it, but just on the surface of it, it's just like a creepy stalking guy.
Sure.
And little children. So I was like, I think I'm gonna put that one aside
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
minute. But it was what I read was like very, very like edge of your seat.
Uh-huh.
It was
Uh-huh.
good. And what ultimately is going to happen is that it turns the tables on this guy. So he's going to become the hunted. But
Right, which
um,
yeah, is satisfying. But until then, oof,
until then,
yeah.
it's hard to swallow.
Right, right.
So I prior to these two, I had read Furiously Happy, a funny book about horrible things by Jenny Lawson. And I may have mentioned it before, but I read it again or read it more closely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's humor, but she's talking about serious stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and she's also, I think I heard about her. Well, the book was a New York Times bestseller a few years
Mm-hmm.
ago, but I heard of her originally on Twitter. She's
Okay.
one of those that got famous tweeting.
Right. Can you
Um,
imagine?
yeah, and so it's about depression and mental illness, but
Mm-hmm.
and the cover, I think it was a book that came out probably not long after I started in this job and had purchased it for the library.
Uh-huh.
And the cover is so hilarious, and for some reason it was like at the end of a book of a shelf,
Uh-huh.
so I'd see the cover all the time, and
Oh,
it's like
yes.
a little raccoon puppet thing that looks crazy. It's like,
That haunted your dreams.
yes. Anyway, it was just one of those, I just kept seeing that book all the time, and so I read it and then
You're
reread it.
like,
But
fine, fine, I'll read
yeah, exactly,
it.
just get this raccoon puppet away from me.
Yeah. That's great.
Anyway, so that's my reading selections for the week. And
Excellent.
then then I let's see, I watched Flack, which is on
What is that?
Prime with Anna Paquin, and
Oh, wait. Is it about
maybe it's on HBO. It's
is
on
it
HBO
about
or
like
Prime.
some kind of company or something?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, okay, yeah.
she's I guess like PR management for
Okay.
celebrities,
Okay.
and it's set in the UK, and or like, I guess it's set yes in London, but it's like a little bit of you know fun. It's kind of, I mean, it's dark, because you can imagine like celebrities are
Oh
terrible
gosh,
people.
yeah, yeah.
So, they have to cover up for these people, but it's pretty creative, like the things that they do.
Cool.
And her character has a lot of problems. Um, there's been a couple of different series that kind of delve into that. So it's
Into
a
like
little
these
bit,
same, you mean main characters with
yeah,
the
there was
same kind of
a,
issues you're talking about?
right. There was I can't think of the title, but Courtney Cox was in it a few years ago
Huh.
about tabloids. And it
Oh.
was kind of the same thing, like all of the seedy underbelly and how these, like these particularly like really with it young
Uh-huh.
women, and how they're kind of killing it, like in their careers, but then they have all these
Right.
like emotional problems and all this other stuff.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. And then
Yeah, I couldn't decide if I was interested or not. So, yeah.
I
Would
would
you
give it a
say
shot.
give it a
And
shot?
then
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Cool.
yeah. But if you're not into like that kind of thing, like sometimes I find
Depends
that
on the day.
amusing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And other times I'm like, I don't want to hear about a
Yeah,
celebrity.
if I'm feeling really down, honestly, something like that might cheer me up weirdly because I'm like, I can't relate to this at all. I'm doing okay. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't live in that world.
Yeah. My life is
Um,
absolutely wholesome compared to these.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it makes me feel a lot better. So I'll wait until I'm in a deep depression to watch it.
And just wallow with
Yes, yes, yes.
with the filth.
Just kidding. I'll probably need something to start soon. So
Yeah. That's been my problem. So I haven't really landed on something that I was super into. So I
yeah.
started rewatching Veep.
Oh my gosh. I have been wanting to do that. I never finished the series and I can't remember why.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those that um kind of watched one or two and it didn't really grab me, and then I got really into it and watched it,
Oh, I love
completely.
Veep. I think it is, first of all, we should put out a warning. If you have a problem with bad language,
Yeah, it's pretty
people being
raunchy.
ugly to each other, don't watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it's like, the other side of Flack. And so this is
Yeah,
like, the behind the scenes of the
of
White House.
politics. Yeah, and
Yeah.
everyone is terrible, at least in this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's really like, but
Well, yeah,
yeah,
what's
it's
funny about it is
definitely.
that, yeah, like they sometimes it's hard to even tell like what side of the aisle they're on in that show
Yeah.
because
Oh,
everybody's so
absolutely.
bad. And
Absolutely.
then, so it doesn't really matter like what your
Yeah,
personal
a lot of
politics
it
are.
is,
It's
yeah, a lot of it is about ulterior motives and how,
right.
everyone has them in that world. And, um, but I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is, first of all, oh, adore her. She's one of my
Yeah.
favorite actors, comedians of all time.
It's a perfect role for her.
It is, she nails it. She nails it. She's
And the
so
other
funny.
the other actors as well, they're also specific and
Yes.
how they interact with each other. It's
Yes.
it's
They're
very cool.
not your typical comedy tropes, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
no, not
all
at all.
so creative and honestly, I feel like that's a good one to watch if you need to get some anger out.
Right,
Just like
right.
the name calling is yeah, again, it's pretty
Oh, it's so
crass,
rampant.
but
Yeah.
so creative
Yeah,
and
that's
hilarious.
true. Yeah. And I think this go around, I'm really, really into um her body man, the
Yes.
the guy who
Oh my
like
gosh, what is his name? It's Tony Hale, but
Tony Hale. Yeah, I can't think of what his name is in the
and I should because she calls his name
just
all the
constantly.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but he's so good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there was some stuff that like when I'd watched it before, I wasn't watching it closely because it's comedy, you kind of just flipping it
Yes.
on.
Yes, you can do
But
that. Sure.
there was some stuff like that he's married,
Uh-huh.
which is a surprise to everybody.
Right.
And then like his interactions with his wife and then how he feels about the vice
Yes.
president, and
Yes.
it's very clever how you never see the president.
Yes.
It's all about her and not her side of the,
Yes.
you
I
know.
love that she asks at least once an episode, did the president call? And the answer is always no.
Yeah, it is very, very clever.
Man, yeah, I need to go back and watch that one. That's a good one.
I also caught this thing called Spycraft. It's on Netflix.
Oh?
And I know, I was like, but it was actually very intriguing, and I watched it because I was gonna tell my nephew he should check it out, but
Uh-huh.
then I ended up watching the whole thing, and
Ooh.
it's little episodes about different kinds of spycraft over the years, so like things that were developed like during the Cold War and
Cool.
how they would like bug entire buildings, and it's just
Oh,
fascinating.
I think I came home and I think Nick was watching this the other day. And
I
he
found
turned
it
it off.
really
He
interesting.
turned it off when I sat down, but yeah, I'll have to go back and watch it. It sounded cool.
Yeah, like they went through, I think it was maybe some embassy, but in Russia,
Uh-huh.
and they said, well, we would have to like to get rid of all the bugs, we would just have to like take off the top half of the building, and it was just they were every single place.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
so that's when like there's an episode that's on like on bugs and stuff like that, and then there's
Uh-huh.
um other kinds of technology as it gets more and more, not higher stakes, but the technology changes things so much. And
Sure, sure.
anyway,
Man,
then
yeah.
talks about like particular spies and the people who were involved and what they accomplished or failed at. And
Right.
anyway, so it wasn't there wasn't that much to it, but it wasn't like a
Well, but
super
I
long
think
series. But
yeah, no, but I think that's cool. I mean, we think of spies and we think of I don't know, what's a spy movie? James Bond.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't, I mean, it's just such a fantasy. And so to us, and I think that, yeah, it's cool. There are people that are actual spies.
And real life can sometimes be just as wild as a
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I bet. Man.
Well, so then I was looking for some lightheartedness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked back at The Meltdown with
Mm-hmm.
Kumail Nanjiani and Jonah Ray. And it was back, I think it was on, oh, I don't know, several years ago. And it's when it was like, out and popular. Now it's
Uh-huh.
on Netflix or something. And I think Netflix.
Is it a reality thing or is it
No, it's stand up, but
Oh, okay. Oh, okay,
it was
cool.
recorded in like the basement of a comic book store.
Uh-huh.
And it was like this underground place where they had been having these um, comic
Mm-hmm.
performances for a long time, and then they just started airing them. So it's real quirky, and but it's like all of the cool kid comics went on there.
Yeah. Oh, I adore Camille Nanjiani. I think he is just really charming and obviously funny.
Yeah, and his wife is like the showrunner.
Oh, cool. I
And then
love
they
their
have
partnership. Yeah.
and then they have like the behind the scenes of all the other comedians in the green room as they're listening to the one who's out,
Oh,
on the stage.
yeah. Oh,
And
how fun.
yeah, it's good. So, but I had seen them all before, so I was, just kind of skimming through like the best ones.
Uh-huh.
And then last night, Tiffany Haddish has a series called They Ready, which,
Oh, I saw it. Okay, yeah.
yeah, I
I
had
didn't
watched the
watch it, but
first
yeah.
season, and then this is the second season that just came out. And it's pretty good. There's, it's like with anything when you've got like a series that's different performers each time for each
Uh-huh.
episode. Some are hit or miss, um, but there was some pretty funny laugh out loud
And
moments.
so, and I'm not, is it all, I'm confused on what it is. Is it stand
Yeah,
up?
it's stand up, and
Okay.
she did stand up for a long time before she like
Mm-hmm.
broke through, and so
Uh-huh.
this show is her kind of giving a hand up to these people who've been comedians for years and years, but just never like made it on TV
Yeah.
or
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I mean, she, talks about how she lived out of her car for a while when she was
hmm
before she was successful and oh, that's great. I mean, she's obviously super hilarious.
Yeah, and some of these people have traveled the world doing comedy for years and decades, but for whatever reason they just, they didn't get out of that level of it or whatever.
Right.
So they've had
Right.
success, and like one guy was even, like Dave Chappelle's mentor, but
Mm-hmm.
just didn't break out. So I will say that it made me a little, I don't know, it gave me a bit of a pause
Mm-hmm.
because it feels like a tiny bit like she's kind of, I don't know, kind of not looking down on them, but like,
Mm.
here, I have all this success, so I'm going to give
Yeah.
you a little taste.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because she
I'm,
is I mean, she's cocky. That's
yeah.
kind of her attitude. My sister was saying she saw her on a talk show recently, and the other guest was the guy who's the Bachelor, on The Bachelor, and she was asking him like, well, did you walk away with a girlfriend or whatever? And he was like, well, you'll just have to wait and find out. And she was like, well, come find me, if it doesn't work out. And he kind of said some, I don't know, but basically she was like, I promise I make more money than her. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought
So
that,
she
but yeah,
does.
yeah,
It,
I could see that kind of coming off as, or just that attitude coming off as a little, yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah. But anyway, but ultimately, they all seemed like they appreciated it. That's what I kept waiting for them to be like, okay, you're not giving us a handout. We've been
Right.
doing this for a long time.
Right. Right. Well, that's
But
good then.
yeah.
That's good.
And then I saw the SNL this week
Oh
was with
yeah,
Dan
I watched
Levy.
SNL too. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, which I love Dan Levy. It
I
wasn't
do
it wasn't the
too.
best episode, but
Hmm. He was great. I felt like he was great in
yeah,
everything he did. But I agree. I mean, it wasn't a bad episode, but it was, yeah, it was a decent episode. I'll say that.
yeah. The skit on Zillow was
Oh my
pretty
gosh.
hilarious.
I
I
was
was
like,
like,
what are they about to say? And then I was like, oh, okay. Yep.
yeah, it was so surprising.
Yeah. That was hilarious because I love Zillow. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was like, okay, this is one of those things where you have to say, well, I feel seen because
Yep.
I have found myself doing
Yep.
this.
Absolutely.
And I would never have admitted that probably to anybody, but
Nope. Yep.
where you
But
just like,
you're not alone.
yeah. So if you don't know, I guess Zillow is, where you can go and look at house listings,
Mm-hmm.
property listings. And, so that's like what these 30 somethings do in this skit. So yeah,
Talk
anyway.
about their love of Zillow.
Oh yeah, Zillow. And looking at other people's houses that
Yep.
you'll
And
never be able to
imagining.
afford.
Yeah. I liked it. Somebody said something about, I don't want to move to North Carolina, but if I did, I could, live in a mansion or something.
Yeah. And then the
Uh,
last thing, because I am giving myself a time limit, is I watched the movie Bliss
oh, okay. What's that?
with Owen Wilson and Salma Hayek,
Oh,
and it just came out like I don't know,
no,
very 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 recently.
never heard of it.
And
And what a pair. I would never
it
think
is.
to
It's a
put
very
them
odd couple.
together.
Exactly. And the director is one who he wrote and directed a movie called Another Earth
Oh,
several years ago,
yeah. I watched that. Yeah.
which I thought was really good.
Mm-hmm.
With the actress who was who's also done a lot of other really cool stuff, Brett Marling. But um, I don't know, Bliss. I would say go
Was it
into it maybe
Bliss?
with just yeah, it wasn't Bliss, no, but it was interesting.
Okay.
Um, let me say, okay, so it's basically this like sad sack guy who hates his job and like everything goes wrong in this one day, just really really bad wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then he falls in with the Selma Hayek character. She kind
Mm-hmm.
of rescues him a little bit.
Okay.
And then it gets into some like fantasy stuff. Like
Uh-huh.
like they can telekinetically move things and
Oh.
or she teaches him how to do this,
Um,
and and it's another one of those where you don't really want to give too much of it away because there
that's
is a
part of
twist.
it.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah.
Um, so as like a diverting, hour and 45 minutes
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Yeah. I'm interested.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it didn't live up to my expectations. I'll say that because it
Okay.
wasn't because I did really respect that guy,
Yeah.
um, and I don't think it was at that level, but it was definitely more mainstream
Okay.
than Another Earth,
Then
which
Another Earth was.
was
Yeah.
pretty indie.
Definitely. Well, maybe if I go into it, having listened to what you've said, then maybe I'll be blown away.
It could be. And,
I'll have mediocre yeah, expectations.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think I don't know. I saw that also had mixed reviews just because
Really?
after I saw it, I try not to look at reviews beforehand, but I looked
Yeah, me
afterwards just
too.
because I was
Yeah.
curious. And some people thought it was great, and there were others who
Okay.
were pretty let down. So
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm intrigued.
yeah, definitely mind bending, and definitely in that film, it's like literally light and dark shift between like these two different realities.
Okay.
So that ties up our light and dark episode, I guess.
Yes. Oh, I think we have a title
Yep.
and a theme.
See how I
Look
did
at
that? I didn't
you.
even plan that.
That's great though.
Yeah. So we will be back here again come Friday.
Yeah, in a few days.
Yeah. So I think that's
So
it.
I guess instead of have a great weekend, have a great rest of your week, guys.
Yes. We're a little bit late this week, so
Yeah.
we're not mentioning that really.
Yeah, no. Shh. Have a good week.
Yes. All right, we'll see
Bye.
you next
Crystal, you know when you desperately need a teddy bear-shaped cake pan to bake a teddy bear-shaped cake?
Emily, don't I ever know that feeling? And then I just end up making a plain old boring round cake. It's the worst.
Ugh. Or when you need to sew a dress for the party that requires a teddy bear-shaped cake, but you don't have a sewing machine or a pattern, and you don't know how to sew.
Ugh, I hate when that happens.
And of course, we all know what it's like when your bike chain breaks while you're riding your bike to that party. Well, when all three of those scenarios happen to me, I visit the Library of Things here at the public library. Our collection now includes non-traditional library items such as cake pans in every shape imaginable, a sewing machine, and a bike repair kit. And we've recently added hotspots and webcams.
And more new things are added all the time. And we even take suggestions if we don't have something that you want. So head on over to your Nacogdoches Public Library for all your not-so-common needs.
Even if you don't need to bake a cake, sew a dress, or fix a bike.